Immortality in 40k. There are many examples across the lore, from the Emperor's shaman origin to the ever-reviving vulkan to an artificial perpetual the eldar made. But how can you come back? Isn't your soul eaten by the warp when you die, after it passes there? Some eldar lore I came across might provide an answer, so welcome friends to another 40k video, and let's begin. Before getting into the concept, let's dive a little deeper into these examples of immortality I mentioned in the intro. As regards to the Master of Mankind, if we follow the shaman origin, it states, seeing the danger of chaos, many shamans self-terminated and were reborn together in the body of the Emperor. Before the advent of chaos, the shamans could be reincarnated. Realm of Chaos says, as the war began to take on its current form, the energies they depended upon were becoming increasingly difficult to tap. Worst of all, they were losing the ability to reincarnate. For as long as anyone could remember, when a shaman died, his soul had flown into the warp and bathed in its energies, awaiting renewal in another body. Now the souls were being chased and consumed by the chaos powers. That speaks to me of some tether between the body and the soul, like an umbilical cord. When it cuts, it then needs to link into a new body, either through the original body healing or when a new one is made for it. Now let's look at Vulkan the Primarch, that always comes back. In the End and the Death Part 1, we'll see his recovery skills put to use. He is but a charred skeleton, a burning body in an anatomist's dissecting lab, crusted ribbons of flesh broiled to his cracked bones. Refusing to die, trying to heal, he stumbles, his newborn heart misshapen, has floundered and burst. He falls dead, and then lives. Such is the curse gifted to him. He lives and slowly hauls his bones upright, once more, clawing at the haft of his scorched hammer for support. He stands, he sways, he starts to walk again. Now, how could this work with his soul? Even if it's a powerful warp entity, like many believe within the Primarchs. And the final example, John Grammaticus. He was a human, born psyker, who when he died was brought back to life as an immortal, perpetual one. An eldar autarch did this, and he was then put into service for the Cabal, this group of ancient Xenos racers wanted to guide events to their vision. So an eldar discoverer might explain how these beings are immortal and come back to some form of healed or reborn body. From Wild Rider by Gav Thorpe. Imagine a vast ocean, uncontrollable, swept by storms, racked with treacherous currents and inhabited by the deadliest predators. Populate this tempestuous sea with islands. Some of the islands are not fixed, but float above the waves, linked to its power but never touching the surface, for fear of being swallowed. Each island is joined to others by long bridges, and the bridges themselves are adorned with castles and cities, some capable of housing millions of souls. It is ancient, the maze of bridges, its arches collapsing, its piles eating away by the merciless aeons of its existence. In places it has been consumed by rising tides, in others it has fallen beneath the surface. Where these tumbled spans touch the waters, the predators learn to walk. Yet they are not air breathers by nature, and their time out of the sea is limited. They cannot row far from the breaches into their inimitable world, but they crave the light of the open air. Try to imagine the same, brought not of matter, but raw emotion. Now you have but the vaguest notion of the warp and the webway. Such visualization exercises were necessary for Eldrad Ulthran, former Farseer of Ulthway Craftworld, and self-appointed Herald of Iniad. He who had thought to raise up the Eldari, god of the dead, knew the webway intimately. He looked upon it not only with mortal eyes, but with the full power of his psychic senses. Its wonder needed no metaphor. It was in this place, in the space between spaces, that he had first discovered Iniad. Rather, it was here he had first sensed the potential god of the dead. He alone had witnessed the nascent power of an ascending deity, felt the tremor of a heartbeat hidden in the pulse of the universe. Scattered across the stars, the craft worlds of the Asuryani had thought themselves isolated, each hoarding the souls of its dead within an infinity circuit, a closed loop, they had believed, and Eldrad had thought it also, until he had heard that awe-inspiring throb of burgeoning godhood At that moment, he'd realised that his people had been woefully short-sighted. To believe that these spirit vaults of an infinity circuit were wholly closed off from the warp had been to think only in mortal dimensions. It mattered not whether, in the bodies of the Eldari or in the crystal pathways of a craft world, a spirit affects the warp in the same manner that matter could bend space, and the webway linked all of them together like a network of cables running along the bridges, conducting energy from one side of the galaxy to the other. The Eternal Matrix, he had called it. It was part of the webway, the greatest achievement of the Eldari Dominion, an interconnection between not only every populated world, but on a fundamental level, every single Eldari born. Before the fall, when the Eldari had been consumed by the deity, birthed out of their own decadence, their spirits had been birthed in the Eternal Matrix. A soul could return to a new life, resurrection, reincarnation, rebirth. Eldrad was not sure of the exact mechanism, but he knew it should be possible again. Inyad, God of the Dead, was the Eternal Matrix given mind and purpose. So I propose that in a similar way to above, when souls are freed of their bodies and slip into the warp, some of them, such as the Immortals, go into a place like the Eternal Matrix, and it's their souls are put on ice, tetherless, until their body heals or is reborn in some manner. Then the tether links to the healed or reborn body, and you are good to go. This would also explain why the souls of the long-lived are not eaten by demons in the warp in between them being dead and being revived. They have this safe zone, the long-lived souls together acting as a natural power to fend off any demons. Perhaps there could be multiple versions of the soul there as someone passes away and comes back, as the warp doesn't have time within it. This happens as a natural effect within the warp. I'll expand on that idea in a moment. The above matrix seems a bigger version of the Infinity Circuit. They are in each Eldar craft world, and there reside the souls of all fallen Eldar. They are a group consciousness and a well of psychic power. Perhaps the matrix is a natural version of this. Each of the ruinous powers in 40k is made from the gathering of emotions in the warp, like attracting like. Now these are emotions and not souls, but it can be argued an emotion of someone would still contain a little of them. Maybe if it's anger, the association of anger with certain memories would still be there. So what I, in a similar way, think is that these types of souls come together as a power, not a god, but a storage index. Remembering, the quote says, when the Eldari had been consumed by the deity birthed out of their own decadence, their spirits had been gathered in the Eternal Matrix. A soul could return to a new life, resurrection, reincarnation, rebirth. The gathering of beings, and yes, the Eldari version is done by links in the webway, but it also says that even the souls in the Infinity Circuit are still able to shape the warp naturally. Just a thought, drop me a comment with your opinions on the theory, and if you like this video on 40k, then why not try this one? And if you want a ton of videos on 40k, why not try the two related playlists I have on the channel? One covers everything, one covers the Dark Age of technology. I also cover Trench Crusade, which is a tabletop game that shares a lot of DNA with 40k. There is a playlist for that, and generally one video on each subject up a week.